All right, hi friends. Today we're looking at compound inequalities on a number line. The other type of inequalities on a number line that we've looked at just involve one variable and one number, and the inequality goes off to either positive infinity or negative infinity. In this case, we would say it's a bounded inequality, meaning that it goes from one number to another number. So let's talk about a few things here. Number one, how do we read these? So here I have -1, less than symbol, x, less than or equal to symbol, and then a 2. We speak this, and this is important because it makes it easier. We speak this as x is between -1 and 2. Now when we know that, it makes it a lot easier to graph it because we have a visual of what between means. Now, an important thing, notice I have a strictly less than on the -1 side. That means that -1 is going to have an open circle or a parentheses. I have a less than or equal to symbol on the 2 side. So that means that 2 is going to get a filled in circle or a square bracket. Notice these don't have to be the same even though they're in the same inequality. So I'm going to draw my number line, draw my horizontal line with arrows on both sides, and I'm going to mark both of the numbers we're concerned about. So I'm going to mark -1 and I'm going to mark 2. And I do like to do this in a different color, even when I'm working on paper, because that way it helps me to distinguish between what was me setting up the line and what was me highlighting the part of the line I want. All right, on the -1 side, I'm going to have an open circle. On the 2 side, I'm going to have a closed circle. So I'll put an open circle where I have -1 and a closed circle at 2. And remember how we read it? X is between -1 and 2. So we are going to shade the part of the line that is between those 2 circles. Now another way I could have drawn this would be with a parentheses at -1 with a horizontal line up to a square bracket at 2. And I like that because it makes it very easy to talk about interval notation. So interval notation for this, remember we go from the beginning number up to the ending number. So it would go from -1 up to 2. On the -1 side, we would have a parentheses, and on the 2 side, we would have a square bracket. So in interval notation, this would be parentheses -1, comma, 2, square bracket. Let's look at another one. I have x is between 2 and 4. We could read it more specifically as 2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4. All right, I'll draw my number line. Got my horizontal line with arrows on both ends. I'm going to mark the 2 values we're concerned about, 2 and 4. And I'm going to switch colors to shade the part that I want. I want the part that is between 2 and 4. Because there's a less than or equal to on both the 2 side and the 4 side, I'll have a solid dot, a filled in dot at both 2 and 4, and I'll shade what's between them. Now, if I were using parentheses and brackets to represent this, I would have an open bracket at 2, a horizontal line, and a bracket at 4. And that makes it really easy to talk about interval notation. So this would be bracket 2, comma, 4, close bracket. See how that reflects the bracket notation for the graph really easily to go from 2 to 4. All right, one more. -1 less than or equal to x less than 0. So I'll draw my number line, horizontal line with arrows on both ends. I will mark -1 and 0 on my line. On the -1 side, I have a less than or equal to, so that's going to be a closed dot or a bracket. On the 0 side, it is a strictly less than, so that would be an open dot or a parentheses. And as we spoke it, x is between -1 and 0, so we would shade what is between those two values in either case. And then finally, interval notation. We are including -1, so it gets a square bracket. It's going to go up to 0. 0 is not included, and so it will have a parentheses. All right, very important to be able to switch between these different forms of representing the same information as we roll into college algebra.